So yeah, if you want to, you can go back to your app right settings, find your API keys here. Where are my API keys? Why are they not loading at the moment? Let me just find my Jira clone right here in the overview. Just a second. It appears like I have lost my API keys right now. Let me try and find them here. API key. Okay, it didn't load. Now it loaded. So Jira clone, inside of out, I'm going to remove users.write because, you know, the admin SDK is quite powerful and you want to be very specific with what it can do and what it can't do. And since we will not be creating users, we'll be creating accounts, right? So you're going to see what we're doing in a second. So make sure you have sessions.write and click update here. You don't need anything else for this API key. No biggie if you left the users read and write on. Let's go back inside our app right here. Let's see what does it ask us to do next. So it shows you how to get the logged in user. That's fine. I want to do the sign up page first. So we have our inputs and now this is what we have to do here. So we have to initialize the create admin client and we have to destructure the account from that. That's all good. We have exactly that here, right? Instead of our lib app, right? We have account and we can call this create admin client in an API route, even though we have this server only. And then we have to create a new account with ID unique, which comes from node app write package. And we have to pass in the email, password, and the name from the register form. And then we have to create a session and we have to store that session in a cookie. Let's go ahead and let's do that, but just a little bit differently because they are using server actions, or as they are renamed now in new React, server functions. So we're not going to do that. We're going to use good old APIs. Honestly, I prefer them over server functions, and I just add RPCs because server functions technically are RPCs in a way. Let's go ahead and let's do that. Inside of API, inside of route.ts, my apologies, inside of features out server route. So the server route here and the out, let's find the register. We have name, email, and password. Make sure this is an asynchronous controller. Don't forget that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get the account from await create admin client from lib app write. So make sure you've added the lib app write import here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do const user to be await account.create and pass in ID from node app write dot unique and then an email, then a password, and then a name. So you can hover over the create method and you can see the exact order. First we need a user ID, then we need an email, then we need the password, and then we need a name. I don't like when they do this. Usually I like when it's an object. So, you know, I would have to pass ID to be this. I would have to pass email to be this. This way, you know, you always have to double check your methods and check if the order is correct. So ID, email, password, and then name in that exact order. And then let's create our session here to be await account, create email password session. Add the email and the password that the user just created. And now we're going to go ahead and instead of using the cookies from next headers, we're going to use cookies from Hono. So let's go ahead and add set cookie like this. Whoops. And we can import set cookie from Hono cookie. So import set cookie from Hono cookie. And then inside of here, we're going to go ahead and pass in the context in the first argument. And what I like to do is I like to create a constant for my out cookie. So let's do that inside of the out folder in the features, create a new file called constants.ts and export const out cookie. And let's give it a name I like to always use a prefix for my cookies. For example, CWA for code with Antonio, dash Jira dash clone dash session, like that. So just make sure you have the out cookie here, and then you can, instead of using strings every time, just pass the out cookie from your // constants, because it's in the same folder, right? And what we have to pass next is from this session the secret. So session.secret, like that. And then some additional safety options here. So path will be a /, HTTP only will be true, secure will be true, same site will be strict, and then we're gonna do a max age 60 times 60 times 24 times 30, like that. And we're gonna go ahead and we can simply return success true, like this. And looks like I don't need the user here. I think I don't need the user. Actually, what we can do is we can return back the user. So data user, we can do that. There we go. Great. Let's go ahead and let's try this out, and let's see if anything important here happens. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to localhost 3000/sign up. So it's important we are working in the register form now. And I want to show you inside of my application here, I think I will have some cookies because this is a local host. I don't have any cookies. Great. No cookies for me. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new account now. I'm going to call myself Antonio. I'm going to give myself an email of antoniomail.com and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, let's do this. I think AppWrite has some specific password requirements. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change this type to text so you can see my password. So I'm going to call my password Antonio 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me show you. Antonio 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's going to be my password. I'm going to click, instead of login, this should obviously be registered. We're going to change that. And let's see what happens. So it appears that I got 200. Let's see my response. There we go. I have returned back an entire user here. Not exactly sure if this is the smartest thing to do, but I don't think there are any secrets here. So perhaps it's good. Yeah, it looks like just dates. I don't see any secrets here, so that should be okay. But nevertheless, we can change what we return. What I'm interested in is inside of my application, there we go. Instead of my cookies localhost, I have my CWA Jira clone and I have my cookie right here. There we go. So we are now logged in. So what I want to do now is I want to develop the rest of the methods, including login and including logout. So we already have login, so let's just continue working with login here. We're going to have the email and the password here. Let's go ahead and let's do again account from await create admin client. Let's go ahead and do const session to be await account create email password session. Let's get the email and the password here. So pretty much the same thing as we did here. You can even copy it if you want to. And then what we're going to do is, well, set the cookie again. We can copy the exact same cookie. Make sure you're doing it in the login route. We have the session. There we go, session.secret set to out cookie. You can see how handy it is that we use the constant. Otherwise, when you use it in many places, you will probably misspell it at least once, and that's quite dangerous to do. And we can go back and we can return data. We can just return success true. And we most likely won't need the user in the register method as well immediately. So you can return success true here as well. And you can not assign this. You don't have to assign this in the register. You don't have to assign this to the user. You can just await, right? There we go. Great, so we now have our login here, and we can't really try it out because we already have a cookie, but what we can do is this. We can go ahead and do the following. Go inside of your application, find the cookie and remove the cookie, like this. But I don't think that this is enough. Let me just see. If I refresh, okay, I think the cookie is definitely gone. Okay, that's good. Let's just quickly visit our app, right? Because I think I completely forgot to check. Do we have a user? We do have a user. Here it is, right here. We have a user, and in app, right, you can actually control it. You can also verify the account. You can go ahead and create different targets. You can go ahead and close the user session. You can see their activity and everything else here. Great. So now that I confirmed that this user was actually created here, let's try logging in this time. So remember, I just removed my cookie from my application here. I'm now going to go ahead inside of sign in, and I'm going to go ahead and log in. So antoniomail.com, and I'm going to use that password, Antonio12345678. And login is 200, success is true, and application new cookie is set again. Excellent. And now we have to do the easiest route of them all, which is the logout method. So I'm going to go ahead and use post for the logout. I'm not sure if maybe this should be what exactly am I trying to say? I'm not sure if this should be a delete method, but I think post can work pretty well. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to add a context here, and inside of here, I'm going to do delete cookie from Hono cookie, and I'm going to pass in the context and out cookie here. And I'm going to return c.json success true, like this. So for now, I'm just deleting the cookie, but there is one more thing I have to do here. But before we can do that, we need to create a session middleware. So let's go ahead and do the following. Well, we can't really try it out in any way now. So what we're going to have to do next is we are actually going to have to create our session middleware, and we're going to have to create another route which we're going to use to get the currently logged in user. And depending on the result of that route, we're going to redirect the user away from this screen. Or if they try to go, to dashboard, we're going to direct them back to the login screen. But I want to end this chapter for now. So what we did is we set up app right. We handled the login and the register routes to set our cookies and to create users in the app right database. We learned about the server only import, which is currently protecting our create admin client. And you've kind of understood what the admin client does. So it's used for things that users themselves cannot create, right? So what we're going to do later is, of course, we're going to use the storage, the users, and the databases here. But what we have to do next is we have to create the session client, and we're going to use it as a middleware. So we're not going to use it like this. Instead, we're going to use it, let's say this logout route should only be accessible to logged in users. So we're going to use a custom middleware called session middleware here. And session middleware will redirect the user away if they are not logged in. But if they are logged in, they're going to provide the controller with the currently logged in user SDK. So then we're going to create like a little client, but without the key and with just the write-read access that the currently logged in user has. So that's how we're going to handle that. Great, great job. Now let's go ahead and let's create the session middleware, which we're going to use to authenticate requests, which should only be accessible to logged in users. So I'm going to go inside of source lib, and inside of here, I'm going to create a session middleware.ts. We can also mark this as server only. And then let's go ahead and let's import get cookie from Hono cookie. Let's go ahead and import create middleware from Hono factory. Let's import the constant out cookie from features constants. And let's import account client databases models storage type account as account type databases as databases type and a lowercase as type storage as storage type, and then we're going to have users as users type from node app write. And now let's go ahead and let's export const session middleware. Let's use the create middleware from Hono factory, and inside of here an asynchronous method which gives us the context and the next method which I briefly demonstrated in a first few chapters of our Hono exploration. Now inside of here I'm going to create a new client and I'm going to give it an endpoint using process.environment, and as always I will copy it from my .environment.local and I will add an exclamation point at the end. I'm then going to set the project as well, process.environment, and again I'm going to copy it from here like this. There we go. After I have set my client, I'm going to go ahead and obtain the cookie using getCookie, context, and out cookie. So in register and login, we set the cookie. In our session middleware, we read that cookie. And in case that cookie is missing, we're simply going to return context.json error unauthorized and an error code of 401. Otherwise, if we have the session, we're simply going to append the session to the client. So client set session and pass in our session here. So this set session will serve as set key, which we have inside of our admin client. But our session client here does not need an admin key. It's not supposed to be that powerful. It's only supposed to be as powerful as the currently logged in user. That's why we are using session-based SDK inside of this middleware. And then I can initialize an account to be new account and pass in the client. And I can do the same thing for a couple of other things. For example, databases, new databases, and storage, new storage. And I can also immediately obtain the currently logged in user using await account.get. The reason I'm doing this is because we will never, as a logged in user, we're never going to use the account in a way that we are using it from the admin client. So in here, we use the account, right? And if you're wondering, why do I use get account here and I just do this here? It's the same thing. You can do this if you want to, const account and then just return account. I'm just following the documentation in case you're confused. You don't have to do it in this way. So as a logged in user, the only reason I will be using the account SDK is to get the current user. So that's why I just want to do that immediately in the middleware so I don't have to repeat this piece of code everywhere, right? So we set the user here. And then what I can do now, thanks to the Hono factory middleware, is append all of this to the context. So c.set account will be account, just in case I need it. c.set databases will be databases. c.set storage will be storage. c.set user will be user. So